Label your paper one-step equations. Today we're going to be multiplying and dividing fractions. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and rewrite the problem. Negative 3/5 times x equals negative 6. All right, we're going to go ahead and circle the variable. I'm going to bring down my wall and my equal sign. And then I'm going to do the same operation to both sides. So I'm going to use the inverse operation. Okay, if you notice that this says 3/5, negative 3/5 times x. Well, we know that the inverse of multiplication is to divide. If you think back to when we talked about dividing fractions, when you divided, you always did the keep, change, reciprocate. So we're going to do the reciprocate part of that. So we're going to, in order to get rid of negative 3/5, we need to multiply it by the reciprocal, which would be 5 over negative 3. And then the negative 3 and negative 3 end up canceling out and creating the 1s. And the 5s cancel out to 5s. And you're going to do the exact same thing on the other side. So I'm going to multiply this side by 5 over negative 3. Does the negative matter where you put it? No, because the entire fraction is negative. Now, on the left-hand side, I've canceled everything out, so all I have left is x. So I'm going to go ahead and bring x down. And then on the right-hand side, I'm going to go back and look, and I'm going to go ahead and just add a 1 over there just because it makes it easier to look at when you're multiplying fractions. And I know that I can simplify. 3 goes into 3 once, so that's going to make that a negative 1. And 3 goes into 6 2 times, so that's a negative 2. And I cannot simplify the 1 and the 5, so I'm going to leave them alone. And I'm going to go ahead and multiply the numerator times numerator. So negative times a positive ends up giving me a negative. And 2 times 5 is 10. And 1 times 1 is 1. And a positive times a negative is a negative. A negative divided by a negative is going to give you a positive. So my answer is going to actually end up being a positive 10 because I have the two negatives and so they cancel each other out. The next problem, I'm going to go ahead and do the exact same thing. So I'm going to rewrite my problem as 6/7 x is equal to negative 24. All right, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to circle my variable, bring down my wall with my equal sign. And in order to get rid of 6/7, I need to multiply that by the reciprocal. So I'm going to multiply it by 7 over 6. So I'm going to do that same thing to the other side. I know that 6 goes into 6 once, 6 goes into 6 once, 7 goes into 7 once, and 7 goes into 7 once. So they end up canceling each other out. And then all I have left is the x. So I'm going to go ahead and bring the x down. On the right-hand side, I'm going to go ahead and put a 1 under there because remember, anytime you have a whole number, you can put a 1 under it to create a fraction. And I can look and I notice that I have 6 in common here, so I'm going to go ahead and cancel 6 out. So 6 goes into 6 one time, and 6 goes into 24 4 times, and I'm going to bring that negative sign back up. And then 7 and 1 cannot reduce. They cannot be simplified. So I'm going to multiply the numerator times numerator. So I have negative 4 times 7. A negative times a positive is a negative. 4 times 7 is 28. And then I have 1 times 1, which is 1. So my final answer is going to be negative 28. And I'm going to go ahead and box that in. Okay, the last example, again, we're going to go ahead and rewrite it. 1/3 n equals 2/9. I'm going to circle my variable so that I know which side I'm working on. Go ahead and bring down my wall and my equal sign. And I'm going to look in on the left-hand side with the variable circled. That is 1/3 times n. So I need to get rid of the 1/3, so I'm going to do the reciprocal, which is 3 over 1. The 3's cancel out and the 1's cancel out, which leave me with n. And I'm going to do the exact same thing on the other side. I'm going to multiply it by 3 over 1. And I know that 3 goes into 3 once, 3 goes into 9 3 times, and I can't simplify the 1 and the 2 because they're already in simplest form. And I'm going to multiply the numerator times the numerator, which is going to give me 2 times 1, which is 2, and denominator times the denominator, which gives me 3 times 1, which is 3. So 2/3 is going to be my final answer. Here are just a few for you to try. Remember, in order to get rid of whatever is with the x, you need to do the inverse operation or the reciprocal when you're working with fractions. Good luck. Make sure you bring any questions that you have to class tomorrow.